Dartistry, Dartistry.
Hello, good evening and welcome. And welcome to episode 5 of the Josh's Dartistry podcast. I'm not going to lie, it feels like an absolute age since we recorded a show. And to you, the JDP listener, I can only apologise for that. But sometimes, unfortunately, life gets in the way. World Cup football gets in the way. Cricket gets in the way. People's jobs, families, and all sorts of nonsense. So anyway, it's lovely to be back. And hopefully we're going to bring you a show this evening that you're going to enjoy, full of stuff moving forward, competitions that have been and gone, competitions that are coming up, all the usual nonsense of things like Challenge Josh and Lord of the Board in the news, some interviews for you, and your general weekly, monthly, whatever you want to call it, darts chat. So let's introduce you to my two co-hosts. Of course, on my right-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, it's Josh Gorton. How are you, Josh?
Very well, John. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. Josh, it's been a while. Where have we been?
It has been a long while. I mean, it's been very busy, obviously, on the sporting calendar with me in terms of work. I was covering the World Matchplay for Sky, so I was kind of committed during that period. It was a fantastic tournament, really entertaining, one of the best in the history of the Matchplay. So that's what I've been doing. Since
we last recorded, Josh, I've moved house, and we find ourselves again in my front room recording this in the new house. What do you make of our new studio, Josh?
I'm very impressed, I've got to say. I think it's definitely an upgrade, actually.
It's an upgrade on the previous place, yeah?
Definitely.
Excellent stuff. Okay, on my left-hand side, Statsman himself, ladies and gentlemen, it's Neil Connor. How are you, Neil?
I'm very well, thank you, John.
Good. You've been busy as well, mate. We've not heard from you in a while either.
I have been very busy. Work, holiday, school holidays, entertaining the kids, football, cricket, and as you said, the World Cup right in the middle of all that.
Yeah, so let's deal with that then very, very quickly. Let's get that out of the way. The World Cup, I thought England did very well, Neil.
For me, we did okay.
We got to a semi-final for the first time since 1990.
But look at how we got there. We lost twice. We lost to Belgium, and then we stumbled past Colombia. Good result against Sweden, and then probably against Croatia, which was a great chance for us. Should have gone into a 2-goal lead with Harry Kane missing that chance, and then
that's it. Blame the Spurs player.
I thought I'd get that dig in.
Well done. We wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the Spurs players.
We exceeded expectations, I think. But I think when you analyse everything, we're not one of the top 4 sides in world football.
Yeah, I would agree. I enjoyed the tournament immensely. To get to the semi-final was great, but I think the main thing that Southgate and the lads did was kind of make us fall in love with international football a little bit more, because I think that's been missing for quite a while, Josh.
I thought they did superbly. I mean, it's a very young side, obviously got a lot of potential. They'll only develop further, and I thought they did superbly to reach the semi-final.
Okay, well, that's the World Cup out of the way. Okay, so JDP episode number 5 episodes, lads. We are into episode number 5. I must admit, I thought we'd get to number 1 or 2 and knock it on the head. And I think there's been a few people on Twitter, Josh, who've been messaging you this week asking when the next episode's going to be, who possibly thought we had knocked it on the head.
Well, yeah, like I say, I think the last one we did was just after the World Cup of Darts, which is probably about 6-7 weeks ago. It has been a long while now, but hopefully we'll be a bit more consistent with our recordings from this point onwards.
Yeah, I'm sure we will be. We've got lots coming up to discuss. I think the biggest thing we'll probably discuss is the recent World Matchplay, Josh, which I know you touched on a moment ago. Lots to discuss about that tournament, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, we had Gary Anderson and Mensur Suljovic in the final. I won't give too much away, but it was a classic final, and as I referred to, it was the 25th year of the World Matchplay, and I think it's got to rank as one of the best. It had everything throughout the tournament.
Neil, did you get a chance to watch much of the match play?
Again, it was a bit bitty what I saw. So mainly semi-finals and the final with Gary Anderson and Mensur.
Okay, so we'll go into the World Matchplay in a bit more detail very, very shortly. We'll also have an interview with friend of the show, Wayne Mardle. Josh has not long finished off the phone to Wayne. Wayne's given us an interview this evening. How did that go, Josh?
Yeah, it went really well, thanks, John. Obviously, discussing the World Matchplay, obviously some of the big talking points, Gary Anderson's title, the emergence of Jeffrey de Zwaan, Michael van Gerwen's early exit, and then we just discussed the tournaments going forward. Obviously, the World Grand Prix, the next big TV major coming up on Sky. So looking ahead to the rest of the year.
Josh, I believe we're also going to touch on the recent Auckland Darts Masters as well.
Yeah, it's a busy time in the World Series calendar. We had the Auckland Darts Masters last week. The Melbourne Darts Masters began today, and then next week is Brisbane. So for a lot of the players on the circuit, it's a bit of a dull period now. Obviously, it's a holiday period, but for the big guns, they're still competing on the World Series tour.
Yeah, so as Josh mentioned there are some World Series events coming up, and Neil, I think you'll be looking at some odds for us a little bit later on in the show.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that, and then we'll be looking a bit further forward, and I think we'll go back over the odds for the BDO and PDC World Championships.
Excellent stuff. For those of you who listened to episode 4, you will remember we launched our new feature, which was Lord of the Board, our round-the-clock style tournament. We did ask people if they would participate. Friend of the show, Jordan, he stepped up and said that he would like to take part, so we managed to get a recording done of Jordan attempting the challenge, and we'll be bringing that to you a little bit later. See, lads, if Jordan could knock me off the top of the table. What do you reckon?
Shouldn't take much doing, really, should it?
Have you seen Jordan play darts?
Well, we will hear him play darts a little bit later on, so we've got that to look forward to. Neil, favourite part of the show, challenge Josh. What we got?
Yep, again, it's 15 questions. The questions will get harder as they go on. I would expect 15 out of 15, which I did expect that in the last show.
You would expect 15 out of 15. All I expect is an argument. So
yeah, maybe. But Raymond van Barneveld, Josh, that's his idol. You would expect 100%, and he didn't do it.
I got 13, but hang on. I got his score wrong from Bullseye in 1991. Let's have a bit of perspective.
This is so easy.
So bitter. Really min, Neil, really min. Okay, let's move on. And then we'll probably wrap up the show with our in and news section. Just have a little look at some darting news stories that you may have missed over the last month or so. So that's the show coming up. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one. Welcome back to the JDP. Don't forget, you can get in contact with us. Do follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. You can also check us out on Facebook. Just go to Facebook and do a search for the Josh's Dartistry page. You can also check out Josh's website, www.joshisdartistry.com. You'll find Josh's latest news, blogs, interviews, opinions, stats on the website. Absolutely fantastic website that Josh provides for all the darting fans out there, so do check that out. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Deansy. You can follow Neil at 10 the Chief and interact with us.
Hi, this is Rod Stud from Sky Sports, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry podcast.
Okay, let's crack on then. First thing on the agenda, gentlemen, the World Matchplay, which came from the Winter Gardens Blackpool. Josh, tell us what happened.
In my opinion, anyway, John, it was one of the most memorable match plays in my lifetime. The 25th staging of the match play, and the first without Phil Taylor. And Taylor's dominated this event throughout the last 25 years, winning 16 occasions. So there's a bit of a different feel about it this year. But with Michael van Gerwen going out early, it opened up the tournament for the rest of the field, and Gary Anderson took full advantage to win his first match play title and complete the Triple Crown, which is the Premier League, World Championship and World Matchplay. He's only the third behind Van Gerwen and Phil Taylor to achieve that.
You mentioned Phil Taylor. What did you make of his commentary?
I thought Phil did really well. I mean, I was quite interested. Obviously, he's still relatively fresh from retirement, only playing the circuit last year. But when you've been that successful, sometimes it's quite difficult to commentate when players are struggling, for example, because he hasn't really experienced many of those struggles. But I thought he offered something fresh and different. I thought he did a good job.
I was a bit confused by the frequency of his appearances on commentary, because he was there. He was there on the first night for one of the games that I watched, and then it seemed like there was a sort of couple of day period when he wasn't there, and I wasn't sure if he was coming back. And I don't know. I just assumed that he'd be making more of an appearance than he did.
I know he wasn't booked for the whole tournament. I think he was booked for the first. Well, I knew he was booked for the first day. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure. He was there for the duration, I believe, but doing other stuff behind the scenes, other corporate stuff, I think. But he was there for the duration.
Yeah, I think his commentary was quite good. Obviously, he's very informed and knowledgeable. Of course, he is about the game and the players. And I thought he gave good insight into maybe sort of the sort of mentality of the players and what they might have been thinking during the games, Neil.
Yeah, I think, as you say, I think he gave a good insight to different aspects of the game, which I think you get also when you get John Part on commentary as well. So it's interesting to hear the ex-players. Rumours of a Taylor wildcard at the World Championships. Publicity stunt because the tickets went on sale, or?
I'm not sure. I mean, if he was offered the wild card, I'm sure he'd take it. It's a difficult one because obviously the World Championships are the most prestigious on the circuit, and players, that is the thing they try for the whole year to qualify for that tournament. So if you miss out at the expense of a Phil Taylor who's retired from competitions, not playing the circuit, it's a bit of a blow. But you can understand why they want to give the most famous darts player of all time an invitation to the biggest tournament in the world.
I think he kind of jokingly referenced it in an interview. You know, somebody said to him, "Oh, you know, if he was to offer you a wild card for the Worlds, would you take it?"
That was me, I think.
Was it you? Was it? Okay, so we got you to blame for that. But yeah, I don't know if it was a serious claim from Phil himself or if it was something that was, thrown out there as a suggestion and it blew up in the media as a bit of a story. Josh,
I mean, he said to me he misses the kind of the competitiveness and the buzz of competing and playing in these big TV matches, but he said he doesn't miss the travelling and the schedule. It's so hectic now, and he said at his age he's just happy still playing exhibitions, still being quite popular and prevalent on the darts circuit without the pressure of travelling, and that's what took its toll on him, I think.
Okay, let's move the result to one side for a moment. We'll talk about Anderson's win and his route to the final in a moment. But Josh, were there any other games in the sort of earlier rounds that stood out for you, or any performances that you thought were particularly encouraging?
There are a number of brilliant games at this tournament. I mean, obviously Michael van Gerwen's exit on the opening night was a huge shock against Jeffrey de Zwaan. De Zwaan beat van Gerwen at the UK Open, drew him again, and I thought van Gerwen's not going to make the same mistake again. But he just looked quite lethargic, maybe jet-lagged. Wayne Mardle hinted at. Obviously, the match of the opening round had to be Kim Huybrechts against John Henderson. That was a superb game of darts. Huybrechts came out the blocks really well, was leading about 6-1 or 7-2 at one stage. But Henderson's finishing was superb. The combinations he took out went all the way to a deciding sudden death leg, but Huybrechts just came out on top. His first ever win at the World Matchplay in 7 attempts.
Early doors, looking at a couple of the big names that fell by the wayside in the first round, and I think I remember saying it to you both on our little WhatsApp group that I fancied Wade to use his experience in this tournament and go quite far. And at the start of his tournament, he was looking pretty good, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, the first round, he wasn't at his best against Jermaine Wattimena, but he battled through it and showed, the resilience and champions qualities that you need to progress. And he's had a lot of success at the match play. He won it in 2007, reached 5 other finals, and he's been playing well all year. That's the key. He's returned to form. He's looking good. It just didn't happen for him against Simon Whitlock. Missed so many darts at double, which is so uncharacteristic of James Wade.
Neil, what did you make of Jeffrey de Zwaan's march to, obviously he got knocked out eventually, but took some big scalps along the way?
He did. I think we've touched on Jeffrey in the past on this podcast. Was he one that Barney was looking
He was a bit of a mentor to him.
Yeah, and they still, I'm not sure of the sponsoring now, but they still practice regularly together. They're still good friends, and I think Barney's influence could only have been a positive. Yeah,
so I think, he looks like the next big Dutch prospect, I would say. I think, didn't he win on the Euro Tour earlier in the year as well?
He won on the Pro Tour,
Tour, yeah. So, and when he gets it right, he knows how to fire.
Okay, let's bring it back then to Gary Anderson's performance. Obviously, he did go on to win the final. We'll talk about the final in a moment. But Josh, some of his earlier rounds didn't have it all his own way. He found himself behind on a number of occasions. And if I'm honest, he was not lucky because he's a very, very good darts player and he can cope in any position that he's in. But he was up against it on more than one occasion. Yeah,
you can't say that Gary Anderson had it easy at this match play. I mean, he drew Stephen Bunting in the first round. Obviously, former world champion is Bunting. He's playing pretty well this year. He was 5-3 down to Bunting and progressed 10-7. Then he faced Raymond van Barneveld in the second round, which was a real crunch clash. I mean, obviously, Barney seeded 13th. He's better than his seeding suggests, but because he doesn't play all the tournaments, that's why he finds himself lower down. And Barney came out the block storming 5-1 up. But Anderson's scoring was just relentless, and he came back and won 11-9. Then the quarterfinal against Joe Cullen, one of the games of the tournament. Anderson at the 9-darter in the fifth leg. But then survived 2 match darts against Cullen, who was superb, vying to reach his first ever TV major semi-final, but Anderson just came out on top. And then he had de Zwaan, the giant killer, in the semi-finals, and de Zwaan threw everything at him, but Anderson hit 16 180s in 29 legs to win. So he performed very well over the entire tournament, rode his luck on a few points, but you need that. To win these big majors, you need a little bit of luck every now and then.
He knows how to get the job done, doesn't he? And I think, if I remember rightly from our last show, again, he'd won one of the Pro Tour events.
Yeah.
And all the games in virtually every round were tight. 6-5, 7-6s, but he always manages to have that mental edge to come out on top.
And his scoring, his doubling throughout the tournament wasn't perfect. He took out some big finishes along the way, obviously, with a 9-darter as point, but when he needs to produce, he generally does, and his scoring buys him more opportunities at double.
Yeah, I think he started the year, didn't he, in a lot of pain with his back. So he seems to be well over the troubles that he was having with that and in very good form.
Nice to see a televised 9-darter. Hasn't been one for a while, Neil. And
was it 5 years though in the match play?
It was the first one since 2014. Yeah.
So always nice to see a 9-darter.
And he took out the 1-4-1 in the next leg as well.
Yes, he
Obviously not
did.
the same, only for a 12-dart this time. And he was saying to his manager before the game, I remember him in his interview, he said he told his manager that night he was going to hit a 9-darter. He just felt good in practice, the darts were flowing, so he was true to his word.
And then obviously by the time he got to the final, he was facing Mensur Suljovic, and Mensur I think Mensur's had a cracking year this year. Early exit from the Premier League aside, I think he's done tremendously well this year. Mensur.
I think what you're seeing is a steady improvement over the last 12 months. I think it started with the Champions League of darts that he won. He is a consistent performer. Very unlucky in the Premier League. Played much better than his league position left him, and then he won the big one in Germany.
The German Darts Masters.
Schalke. He won the German Darts Masters, and he's a tough competitor, a very good player, and a serious contender for these majors now.
Okay, Josh. So we all settled down to watch the final, Anderson versus Mensur, and we all had to get very, very comfortable because it was the longest final in history.
It was bizarre. I mean, it was kind of billed as Anderson's power scoring against Suljovic's combination finishing. I mean, Mensur's throughout the year and throughout this tournament, his finishing, kind of the shots between 80 and 100, he just mopping them up with consummate ease. He was superb, Suljovic, and that's his strength. And Anderson admits he doesn't like playing Mensur because of the pace of the game. But Anderson was actually outscored by Suljovic for the majority of the game. I mean, Suljovic averaged 104.4 compared to Anderson's 101. They both hit 14 maximums. And at one stage, Suljovic was quite a bit clear on the 180 count. So the doubling actually let him down. I think he led 9-7 Suljovic, and then in 4 consecutive legs missed darts at double.
Yeah.
He missed 11 darts at double over 4 legs. That allowed Anderson to get a big lead up, which he maintained. And Suljovic obviously came back from 17-13 down, got it to 17 all. I fancied him to go on and win it then from that point, having got the momentum. But Anderson had the fall out with the ball. We all saw that. That was incredible. Going for the bullseye to win it. That could have easily kind of killed Anderson's hopes mentally as well. It must be so frustrating knowing you've thrown the dart in to win it and it falls out, but he responded superbly to
There was a lot of chat on social media during the game and afterwards as well, and I saw a lot of people saying that these players deserve better equipment and better boards to be throwing their darts at with the amount of bounce outs that were taking place. What did you make of that, Josh?
I agree to an extent, although on that occasion it was nothing to do with the board or the board's quality. It was just it hit the wire of the bullseye. Around the bullseye, that's when you're most likely to suffer a bounce out.
Yep.
Although Anderson always seems to have bounce outs. At the UK Open last year, he played a game against Paul Hogan, and he had a dart for the match on the bullseye, fell out of the bullseye, he went and lost the match. And do you remember that World Final against Taylor when he won it, his first title?
Yep.
He hit the 180, and all 3 darts fell out.
Yep.
So it all seems to be situated against Gary Anderson. It's bizarre.
Is it me, or when Mensur throws his darts, does he look like he's off balance?
He is a bit off balance, Suljovic, but you wouldn't teach his technique to young and upcoming darter, but it just works for him.
It just amazes me that you see him kind of leaning and almost falling forward, and then you see the dart hit the target that he's aiming at.
Works for him.
The Jim Furyk of darts.
Yeah, it is a bit of what you call an unorthodox throw, but I suppose if it works for him, then you can't really count that against him. Okay, so Gary won the match, and it was great to see Gary lift the trophy. Gents, I can't help thinking, and I think it every year during the competition, how much that trophy looks like the FA Cup, Neil.
I had to do it. Yeah, I had to do a double take. As you say, it is
whoever
dead
designed
ringer.
it, I reckon, modelled it on the FA
It
Cup.
is a dead ringer.
It's got the big jug ears, and it's very similar to the FA Cup trophy.
As a Tottenham fan, John, I'm surprised you know what the FA Cup looks like.
1991, pal. Look it up. All right.
Last major final.
Okay, so that concludes the World Matchplay discussion. Let's move on now. Let's have a quick chat about last weekend, Josh. We had the Auckland Darts Masters. Tell us about that, buddy.
Yeah, obviously following the World Matchplay, we had a little bit of a break for a week, and then the players jetted off to down under for the next stage of the World Series. We were obviously in Auckland last week, and they've now travelled to Melbourne. But last week, Michael van Gerwen returned to form in emphatic style, winning the Auckland Darts Masters. And in truth, he was never really pushed throughout the whole tournament. I think he dropped, just looking at the stats there, I think 13 legs it was.
Yeah.
Beat Cody Harris first round. Cody Harris is a good player from New Zealand, probably one of their best prospects. He beat him 6-2 first round. Then played Gary Anderson, which was a fantastic clash in the quarterfinals.
Registered his highest average against Gary Anderson in that match.
Yeah, Gary early on was all over the place. It was bizarre. He was hitting 5s and single 1s. I think after 4 legs, he was averaging about 65, Anderson. And he recovered a little bit to reduce the arrears, but Van Gerwen had already built up too big an advantage, and he ran out a comfortable 10-4 winner. Then he played another fellow Scot in Peter Wright. Peter Wright was also well below par against Van Gerwen, And Michael's really consistent, again, over the ton average, won 10-3, having led 8-0 at one stage. And that set up a final against Raymond van Barneveld, who was appearing in his 4th World Series final. But Barney was unable to win his first against Van Gerwen. Michael stormed into an early lead. Barney picked it back to 6-4, but never really had the consistency to trouble Van Gerwen. And Michael reeled off the last 5 legs to record a big 11-4 win. So although he's suffered 2 early exits in the big TV majors at the UK Open and the match play, everywhere else Van Gerwen's cleaning up.
Neil, being our resident odds man, I didn't look at the odds before going into the Auckland Masters, but I'm guessing that Van Gerwen was the favourite anyway going into that.
Yeah, I think for all of these, and I think when we look at this weekend's odds, you'll see the same thing, that he is odds on to win it. He seems to have, every time he seems to have a wobble and go out early in one of the early rounds of a tournament, he seems to be able to bounce back. And the bookmakers are running scared a little bit.
Well, yeah, obviously the Melbourne, which we'll touch on later, the Melbourne Darts Masters began today, and Van Gerwen won in his first round match with 111 average. So that just signals his intent. He's in fantastic form now, recovered from that match play exit. It's probably kind of given a bit of a boost. He wants to prove people he's still the boss, which he said in an interview with the PDC. And I'm expecting Van Gerwen to really go on to produce his best darts in the bigger TV majors, because that's what's let him down this year. He's been superb, really consistent on the Pro Tour and European Tour, but the big majors is where he usually produces, and he hasn't so far this year, with Anderson winning both.
Okay, so that concludes our wrap-up for the World Matchplay and the Auckland Darts Masters, and we congratulate Gary Anderson and Michael van Gerwen.
You're listening to Josh's Dartistry. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook by going to the Josh's Dartistry page. You can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry, or go to the website www.joshisdartistry.com for all the latest news and insight into the world of darts. You can also leave us a comment or a question via our voicemail box. Just call 07739 738 329 and leave us a message, and we may play it live on air. Now back to the show.
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, it's time to preview a couple of events that are coming up. Well, I say coming up, one of them has actually started today on Friday. Josh, what have we got?
Yeah, the Melbourne Darts Masters got underway today, John. Obviously, as I mentioned, the World Series Tour well underway in Australia now, obviously having travelled back from Auckland. All the big guns won today, barring Carl Anderson, who lost to a good friend of his, Damon Heater, in the first round. Whitlock beat Corey Cadby in an All-Australian clash. Barney really scraped through against Raymond O'Donnell. Really poor match. Barney really struggled with his cold hands. He was complaining throughout the game.
Cold hands? That's the worst excuse I've ever heard in my life. No, cold hands?
I'm not saying that's a genuine reason, but I was watching the game on the stream this morning, and as he came off, he was with all the scorers and the markers.
We've sunk to new depths.
We have sunk to new depths.
It was discussed on commentary, and as he won, as he was shaking the hands of Russ Bray and the scorers, he was putting his hands on their face.
Well, you're going to make me feel bad now and tell me that it's some sort of medical thing, aren't you, that he suffers from, and that he's got sort of bad circulation or something.
Well, that's what Rod Harrington... I mean, obviously we know Raymond's a diabetic, but Rod Harrington reckons it's a circulation problem. I don't know, but he won anyway. I mentioned Michael van Gerwen was imperious, 111 average. Gary Anderson averaged 105, was very good in his first round match. Peter Wright hit 6 out of 6 on the doubles. So the big guns impressed, and obviously we've got the quarterfinals tomorrow, followed by the finals on Sunday. So that should be another interesting event. And then after that, we go to Brisbane, where the World Series concludes in Australia anyway. And then the rest of the circuit kind of resumes at the end of August. The 31st of August, we've got the German Darts Championship, the 10th Euro Tour of the year. And in terms of the next TV event, really, on our screens, is in the Champions League of Darts, which will be held in Brighton this year on BBC, and that's the top 8 players in the world, split into 2 groups of 4. So that's what we've got coming up.
Right, yeah, so there's 2 or 3 events coming up there, not too far away. And with that in mind, I suppose it is time for this.
Cool, what are the odds?
Okay, Neil, I know you've been having a look at the odds for these tournaments. What can you tell us?
Yeah, okay. So all these odds brought to us by Sporting Bet. Josh has been talking about the Melbourne Darts Masters. There's 8 players left in that. No surprise, Michael van Gerwen, odds-on favourite at 7 to 10. Gary Anderson, second to favourite at 4 to 1. If you fancy a bit more value, you've got Michael Smith at 14 to 1, Simon Whitlock at 25 to 1, and Heater, who you said beat
Kyle Anderson.
Kyle Anderson, that's right, at 125 to 1. Next week, they move on to the Brisbane Darts Masters. Very similar in terms of the top four. Van Gerwen odds on again, 3 to 4. Anderson 11 to 2. Cross 13 to 2. And Peter Wright 10 to 1. Corey Cadby, an interesting one at 22 to 1. So
He's got the game.
He has got the game for it. So we'll see what that leads to.
Josh, what sort of crowds do they get down under for these events? Are they well attended?
Yeah, very, very popular. Obviously, darts in Australia is soaring at the moment. Obviously, we've got Simon Whitlock's return to the Premier League fold. Corey Cadby's is continues to go from strength to strength. Obviously, reached the UK Open final this year. We've got Kyle Anderson, who's in the top 25 of the world. So Australia in darts is in a good place, and the crowd have reflected that.
And with regards to the times of the events, what time is it in the UK when these events are taking place? Is it something that we can watch here, or would we have to get up at stupid o'clock in the morning to watch it?
I've watched it via Betting Sites, which is live, and it started at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's fine then.
But it's if you haven't got the betting sites or the facilities to watch it live, it's repeated on ITV4 at 7 p.m. in the evening.
Okay, cool. Okay, Neil, anything else for us with
Yeah,
with the odds?
I said we'd have another look at the World Championships. So if we start with the PDC World Championship, Van Gerwen odds against 6 to 5, but still very well fancied.
Yeah.
It's the same four at the top: Anderson 4 to 1, Cross 7 to 1, and Peter Wright 11 to 1. Cadby and Lewis at 40 to 1, and James Wade at 50 to 1.
What about Barney?
50 to 1.
Very good odds.
Jeffrey de Zwaan 40 to 1. The informed Jeffrey de
Zwaan, more favourite than Barneveld for the world.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Josh, after the press release we had that we discussed in episode 4 with regards to the Worlds and the extension of the number of players taking place, have you got any more info on that? I mean, I know we spoke about there being female competitors this time around for the Worlds. You got any more information on that yet, or is that still something that we need to wait for?
The women's qualifiers will be held in Milton Keynes and Dusseldorf, and I think there's 2 spots available for the women in this year's World Championship. In terms of obviously the 96 players we mentioned, the top 32 will all go through automatically to the last 64, and it'll be obviously then 64 players playing off for the right to go on and take the 32 seed. So I don't think it's going to be any more days added to the Worlds. It'll just be more sessions in the afternoon, I believe.
Okay, Neil, you got anything else for us?
Yeah,
buddy?
I think we'll just switch into the BDO, and again looking at their World Championships, starting with the men. Glenn Durant, odds-on favourite, 9 to 10. Really well fancied as the next one is Mark McGeaney, who's at 9 to 1.
Repeat of last year's final, that will be.
It would be, yeah, but obviously Durant very strongly fancied. Moving out slightly, you've got Michael Unterbuchner, 14 to 1, Scott Waits 20 to 1, and Dave Parletti 20 to 1.
Have we got Justin Van Togau on there?
That's a curveball. Neil is rapidly looking at his odds sheet. Let's have a look.
He's a very good young Dutch prospect who's won the World Youth for the last couple of years.
He's up against it.
Van Togau?
Have we got any music we can play?
Here we go.
Put the kettle on, John.
Josh, just while Neil checks that out for us, do we know who the host broadcasters are going to be for the BDO Worlds this year?
I'm not aware. I mean, as we'll discuss later on, there's been a little bit of change in regards to the BDO's kind of board structure and the directors, so we might get more clarity on that soon, but I'm not sure. BT Sport have done it in Channel 4 in the last few years.
I was wondering whether it would be on Free Sports like it was for the trophy we saw a couple of months ago.
Yeah, the BDO World Trophy. It could well be. I'm not sure yet.
Did you say Togau?
Togau, yeah.
40 to 1.
Very good player. He's a good outside bet for me. He beat Durant in a tournament the other weekend, actually.
Okay, good. Well done, Neil. Well done for pulling that one up under short notice. Anything else for us?
Okay, so moving on to the BDO World Championship for the ladies. We've got joint favourites, Lisa Ashton and Farron Sherrick, both are 187 over 100. And then moving out to 9 to 1, we've got Anastasia. We've got Dita Hedman at 10 to 1, and Lorraine Winstanley at 11 to 1.
Excellent stuff. So plenty of odds there from Neil. If you've got some money burning a hole in your pocket and you do fancy a flutter, then get down your bookies and stick a few quid on. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, as always, when the fun stops, stop.
You're listening to the Josh's Dartistry podcast. Don't forget you can check us out on Facebook, the Josh's Dartistry page. You can also follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. And you can also go to our website www.joshisdartistry.com for all the latest news, blogs and information on the world of darts. Don't forget you can also call us and leave us a message on our voicemail box. That's 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329. Call our voicemail box, leave us a message, leave us a question, and we may play it on the show. Now back to the show.
Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Josh managed to secure an interview with friend of the show and Sky Sports commentator Wayne Mardle. How did that go, Josh?
Yeah, really enjoyed it. Thanks, John. Wayne's always great value, offers really interesting insight. Obviously, he's enjoyed quite a lot of success at the match play before, counts it one of his favourite tournaments. So he was very enthusiastic and really enjoyed the tournament.
Okay, let's have a listen.
So just to start off, Wayne, what are your thoughts on the World Matchplay?
Going into the event, you're thinking, right, just look at some of the non-seeded players. I'm thinking this could be a cracking event. And just looking at Adrian Lewis, non-seeded, it turns out that Jeffrey de Zwaan was another one, Joe Cullen. But you also had some winners in there, didn't you? There was you had Johnny Clayton that you thought might do some damage. There was a lot of players that were winners in there. And you're kind of thinking, well, if they can win on tour, they can take care of anyone over best of 19 and then best of 21 legs. So there was a lot of players that I felt could reach the quarterfinals, but I did say all along that I felt it would be a tried and tested player that would reach the final and that would probably go on and win it. And between Mensur and Gary, it was the most memorable match play final I can ever remember. Yeah. And I'm even going back to the ones where Rod Harrington was competing and they went extra legs. The standard in the whole event was incredible, and I'm just pleased that the final was one of the best games that we've seen in a long, long time, because the event kind of deserved it.
No, it did, you're right.
Yeah, and it was, from a personal point of view, it was good to have Phil in the studio. So it was just a little bit different this year. It was good. I really enjoyed it. And the players are now so used to playing each other that I think there's going to be more upsets in the coming future, because the likes of Jeffrey de Zwaan playing Van Gerwen, he's not frightened. And there's a lot of players like that. Joe Cullen, let's be fair, he had Gary on toast. Yeah. But he just couldn't finish him off with those two darts at a double. So I think we're going to see a lot more upsets, but we're still going to see the cream rise to the top, as they say.
Definitely. I mean, and obviously talking about Gary Anderson, I mean, the tournament had everything for him. I mean, he survived 2 match darts against Joe Cullen, he hit the 9-darter, some fantastic comebacks against Stephen Bunting and Barney, and then obviously the final against Mensur. I mean, it was the perfect win, really, wasn't it?
It was. I'll tell you what we're seeing now, and I've been not doing my own work on this, but I've been thinking about it more and more. I think this is one of the first tournaments I can remember, because it's been brought to the fore, where the actual scoring has won the event. I don't believe that Gary's superior double hitting in any match has been the reason he won it. It was his scoring. His scoring got him out of trouble. His scoring got him more darts at a double. And I think that the game has changed that much now, where you've got to be able to score. Yes, you've got to be able to hit doubles, of course you have. But if you're buying yourself more darts at a double through outrageous scoring phase, then good luck to you, because you can afford to miss one or two a leg because you're going to get a third. Whereas people that are not scoring as well are just not getting it.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the first events I can remember. Obviously, there's been more, but one that's come to the fore for me is that Gary won that through sheer scoring phase darts alone. And maybe it's a new era for darts, because the old adage, scoring to a show, doubles for dough, I think that's been shot out the water completely.
Mm. And you mentioned a new era there, Wayne. Obviously, one of the stars of the tournament was Jeffrey de Zwaan. I mean, he was superb throughout. But do you think this is the start of a real big future for Jeffrey, this tournament?
Well, I hope so. We see players come on, just like we saw Max Hopp when he won the European event, the German Masters. We saw him play brilliant in that event, and it was the way he finished it off as well. It was superb from Max. So we're assuming that he was going to kick on. Well, he didn't. Jeffrey de Zwaan, we know that he beat Michael in Minehead. Was he going to kick on from there? Well, he didn't the following game. He kind of played poorly. But beating Michael, then Adrian Lewis, and then Dave Chisnall, that is different class.
Yeah.
That's different class. And then go on to give Gary the game he did was kind of good luck to him. I'm glad he went out playing well. But I hope that he can take that intensity in that game away from the big stage and do it when it kind of, when you don't really feel like it. And what I mean by that is I hope his B game can hold up to project him ahead, because he's not going to play his A game all the time.
No. And
that was what it was. So it's B games that win, which is why Van Gerwen has won so much, because his B game is outrageous. I would like to see Jeffrey just relax and play to his normal standard, but we don't really know what that is yet. That will come to pass, and we'll work that out for ourselves. Maybe he hasn't even worked it out yet. But I love the way he plays. I love the way he acts. His action is superb to watch. I really do hope that it is the start of big things for him. And Joe Cullen as well.
Yeah.
I thought Joe held himself together superbly well. And hopefully he can kick on now, because he's looked a potential winner, not of majors. I'm not about of majors, but he's looked a potential winner in short format matches. Now he's looked a potential winner over a long format now. So hopefully he can kick on as well. Yeah,
definitely. And Michael van Gerwen, obviously a shock first round exit. He also went out to Jeffrey in the UK Open. But how much do you think kind of Michael's early exit was a result of the hectic schedule? Because they're all over the place, obviously in Melbourne now for the World Series.
Yeah, some of the performances they're putting in the World Series, they're not having time to prepare. They're going to be tired. I don't care what anyone says. They're not flying on their own personal Lear jets, and they're not sleeping 16 hours a day. Michael didn't blame jet lag or tiredness for his defeat, but I think that's got something to do with it. I don't believe that anyone believes that traipsing from Las Vegas to Shanghai, from Shanghai to Blackpool is perfect. The perfect process for producing your best darts at the Winter Gardens. It's not.
No.
It can't be. He didn't make an excuse for it, so I'm not going to make an excuse for him. But Michael played decent without playing well. He just got beaten by the better player on the day. But did he only play decent because of the schedule? It's quite possible.
Mm-hmm. And I saw you on Twitter earlier, Wayne. You commented about, you asked the question, does any sport have more majors than darts?
Yeah, I was just trying to stir things up.
No.
I'll tell you what, though, it annoys me, Josh.
Yeah.
It really does annoy me, because I hear all sorts of so-and-so's looking for his first televised win. And no offence to the World Series events. Good luck to Michael Smith when he won his first one. And I actually classed it as a TV event, but it's not a major.
No.
So, and John Gwynn come on saying there's minor majors, major majors, and miniature majors, whatever it is. And that's probably about right. But with the PDC have got to stand up and say, look, do you know what? This is bigger than this. This is bigger than that. So therefore, these are going to be the major events that we have. And I think Sky got it right with the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
I think they're the three most revered tournaments to win. I'm not saying they're the three most important, because I don't think the Premier League is as important as the World Grand Prix.
No.
But according to the players, it's bigger. So you can only listen to the people that play in it. But for me, let it carry on. But the PDC got to sort it out.
Yeah, there's a lot. It always causes a lot of debate, doesn't it? Whenever that question's
it's
posed.
ridiculous. What kind of sport is it where you can't even decide what the big events are?
Yeah.
The PDC want to sell every event as a massive event, and you can't do that. We all know that there's only one World Championships.
Yeah.
So you can't sell Minehead Players Championships as big as event as the Worlds. You can't do that, because you'd just be lying, and everyone knows you'd be lying.
Yeah. But you mentioned the Grand Prix awfully earlier. That's the next big major coming up, really, the end of September. Do you think it'll be the usual suspects? Because it's always a tournament that's quite unpredictable through the doubling format.
Yeah, I think it is unpredictable. Yeah, I've got to say, every time they go there, ever since Van Gerwen won it first time, he looks like a potential winner to me of every single event, but especially that one. Mm. Because his doubling is very good. His scoring, as we know, is absolutely superb. But he's come unstuck there a couple of times. I think there's a few more that need to go in the hat. I think Mensur's reached the semi-final there at least once, as far as I can remember, maybe twice.
Yeah, twice, I think. You're right, yeah.
Yeah, I think his double hitting is under pressure. He's absolutely magnificent. If Gary can ping tops, he could absolutely breeze through the competition. Then you got those that like other doubles. James Wade kind of didn't play well at all at the match play, so maybe he come good at the Grand Prix, because he's been playing some decent stuff. The Grand Prix is always an hard one to predict, because if you start getting away in your very first match, you really can build up a head of steam and confidence. But yeah, like you said, Josh, usual protagonist for me. I don't see someone from outside the top 6 or 7 in the rankings winning it, unless it's Barney.
Yeah, no, he's always danger, Barney. You never know, if he turns up, he's got the game.
I'm one of those that really does believe he's not the right ranking because he doesn't turn up.
Yeah,
he's still better than most.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And obviously, we've got a busy schedule coming up. Obviously, the Grand Prix, you've got the Grand Slam, Players' Champs, and obviously the Worlds, the end of the year. Are there any players you're expecting big things from, maybe a bit of an emergence from?
I want to see Corey Cadby play more.
Yeah.
I know he faltered in Melbourne today, but you try and play a big match once every now and again, it's hard to keep up with those that are playing big matches all the time. They're used to the pressure, you're not. They hit doubles under pressure, you don't. And that's exactly what happened when he lost to Simon. Mm. But you got him, like we've spoken about Jeffrey de Zwaan. I want to see him kick on. But there's 2 more that I want to see do some damage, and that's James Wade and Adrian Lewis. Mm. We know they've got the game. I'm not sure that they're I think they might be panicking a little, the pair of them, because the way they played in the match play. Fair point that Adrian Lewis played a lot better than James Wade. Yeah. But he still didn't look natural to me. He was trying too hard. He was trying too slow. There's nothing natural and instinctive about him anymore. He's playing like someone who's scared of losing. And between the pair of them, we know they can win. But I want to see them play well and give a good account of themselves, because I think the world of darts is better when they're playing well.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Which is very exciting end of the year coming up, Wayne. Obviously, lots of tournaments. So thanks very much for joining us, Wayne. Much appreciated, mate.
No my pleasure, Josh. Good chatting to you, mate. Take care.
You too. Take care, Wayne. Bye-bye.
Thanks, mate.
And welcome back to the JDP. Our thanks, obviously, to Wayne for that interview. Wayne has always got plenty of time to have a chat with us, and we thank him for that, for giving up his Friday evening. Josh, what did you make of that?
As I mentioned, really interesting interview, John. Love to get his insight, obviously, on the likes of Joe Cullen and Jeffrey de Zwaan. Obviously, Gary Anderson took the glory at the match play, but they were two of the stars of the tournament. Obviously, Joe Cullen reaching only his second major quarter-final. De Zwaan was superb, obviously, in beating Van Gerwen, Lewis and Chisnall. And obviously Wayne's expecting and hoping for big things for them two for the rest of the year, and there's no reason why they can't use this as a springboard now and go from strength to strength. But also interesting to get his views on Lewis and Wade. Obviously two established players who've been there and done it at the top of the game. They were highly fancied going into the match play, having had a good year on the Pro Tour. Didn't really happen for either of them. Lewis was the better of the two, but both went out in the second round, so he's hoping, obviously, that they turn their form around for the second half of the year, which we all do.
Yeah, I always admire Wayne's insight when he comes on and speaks to us. Neil?
Talking about Adrian Lewis, I have a strong feeling that we will see an upsurge in his form and maybe a run at the Worlds as well. You don't win back-to-back World Championships without being a classy player, and I think once he gets back playing at his best, he will be there or thereabouts in the big tournaments.
I agree. I mean, Lewis, you mentioned obviously the Worlds there. Lewis is a bit like Barneveld and Anderson. They always produce their best at the Worlds. Lewis almost bases his season around peaking for the World Championships. And as Wayne said, he played well at the match play, but just wasn't very instinctive, was quite methodical. And Lewis is best when he's kind of free-flowing, natural. So if we see more of that, Lewis, for the second half of the year, there's no reason why he can't challenge.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, yeah, so as I said, thanks to Wayne Mardle for giving up his time, and Wayne, you're always welcome on the JDP.
I feel happy, won't you call me on the telephone? In the morning, won't you call me on the telephone?
Call the boys on 07739 738 329. That's 07739 738 329 and leave them a message.
This is Wayne Mardle, and you're listening to Josh's Dartistry.
Right then, let's move on. We're going to move on to our newest feature that we launched in episode 4, and that was Lord of the Board, our round-the-clock challenge. Now, if you remember last week, guys, or should I say last episode, I was the first to step up to the hockey and have a go, and I think I scored 20, 21, 20, 20, 21.
8.
Okay. I was hoping you'd have forgotten. So, I scored 8. I was top of the leaderboard at the moment, currently with 8, as we descended on Church Studios and recorded my attempt. Fortunately, for this episode, we have got a JDP listener who has joined us and had a go himself. Friend of the show, Jordan Harrison. He joined us at Church Studios and he attempted to overturn my top score of 8. Josh, I know you and Jordan are very close. What do you think Jordan managed to get?
Jordan's competitive, so I think he'd have been up for it. But we played darts at a pub earlier in the year, I remember, and based on that, I think he would be hard pushed to beat your score of 8. Now,
Jordan is a Fulham fan, so he's not used to success. He's used to competing in the sort of lower tiers of the sporting echelons, Neil. So I know you were present when we recorded this, Neil. And do you think that his performance reflected that?
Yes, I think it was Fulham-esque, and from one mediocre attempt last time to another one this time.
Okay, here we go with this episode's Lord of the Board. Okay, welcome to Church Studios. We are at Colin's studio again this evening, and we are here for the JDP 30 Dart Round the Clock Challenge. Now, for this attempt, we have friend of the show, Jordan Gunman, I believe your nickname is Jordan. Jordan, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm not bad. How are you?
Not too bad. Now, you're going to be taking on the JDP 30 Dart Round the Clock Challenge. I've seen you in practice. Yeah, how are you feeling?
If I hit the board, I'm happy.
If he hits the board, he's happy, Neil. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm interested to see how he goes, because I've just seen him hit 3 bullseyes, none of them intentional. So.
Well, if he gets to dart number 22 and he's as prolific with the bullseye, then we could have a world record attempt on our hands here.
I'm not sure that we'll actually get that far, but let's see.
Okay, Jordan, are you ready?
Yeah.
Good. Start your engines, and away you go. Nowhere near. That's 18, that's just outside the 1. And that's 20, so no score so far.
3 darts gone.
Not a great start, Jordan, I have to
A
say.
little bit unlucky with the one that hit the 18.
Yeah.
So be it.
Okay, next 3 darts.
I
Here we
hit the
go.
board, so I'm happy.
No. Yes, that's number 1. And off the board.
So after 6 darts, we have hit one of the targets.
We have hit
so
one.
we are now shooting for number 2, Jordan.
Pressure's mounting.
Dart number 7.
Here we go. Miss.
No, we're going for 2, Jordan.
And
Well
that's
done.
the number 2.
9 darts gone.
That's the number 2. So he's slowly making his way. I don't think this is going to be a world record attempt. However, I might be wrong. Here we go. Number 3, Jordan. That's 17. That's 19.
Unlucky. Well done.
And that's the 3. He went left and right, Neil, and then he found it with a 3rd dart.
12 darts. You've hit 3. You're hitting 1 in 4, Jordan.
Okay, 4.
Not bad.
Top right of the board, Jordan. Top right of the board. Take your time. That's a miss. That's 18. That's a miss. That's miles away. And that's also miles away. No score.
That one.
15 darts, still 4.
15 darts. He's on 4. When he needs 4. Okay, here we go. That's a miss. That's 10. That's a miss. That's 1. And that's a miss. That's
18
16.
darts.
It's not going well, is it?
Still shooting for 5. Your score at the moment is number 4.
Okay, take it away. That's a miss. That's 18. That's 18. And that's the 4! Yeah. Nails the 4 again with his last dart, Neil.
21 darts gone. And he has got the 4, so he's now shooting for 5.
Okay, number 5, top left. Here we go. That's a miss. That's 2. That's a miss. That's 12, but a lot closer. And that is number 1, so that's a miss as well.
24 darts gone, still shooting for number 5.
24 darts. He's only got 6 darts left. And we're shooting for 5. As Tony Green would say on Bullseye, take your time. That's a miss on 8. That's a miss, also 8. And that's the 5!
Well done. 27 darts gone. We've hit 5, so we're now looking for 6, 7 and 8 with the last 3 darts.
Okay, here we go. Number 6, right hand side of the board. That's a miss. That's a 6!
Well done.
Looking for the 7 to finish it off. And it's a miss.
So
Okay.
Jordan scores 6.
Jordan scores. Jordan, bring it in. Come in. Come in. How'd you feel that went, buddy?
It's better than I thought it would, so I'm
That was
happy.
better than you thought it would. Okay.
I hit the board
He hit the board.
multiple times, so that's good.
Okay, well, we'll enter you onto the leaderboard. We'll see where you are, and we'll take it from there. So, thank you, Jordan. Well done. Good effort. And let's throw it back to the studio.
Thank you.
So there we have it. I remain top of the leaderboard, gentlemen. I am your reigning and defending champion.
Mediocre. Leader. Not champion, leader.
So as you heard there, Jordan, unfortunately, was unable to topple me. My score of 8 still leads the way. It was a good effort, Josh. He did as best as he could, but he wasn't able to oust me.
It's difficult. I mean, since you had your attempts, I haven't recorded mine as we speak. I went home and practiced, and it is difficult.
Oh, hello. He's probably had like a month's practice. So by the time he does this, he'll probably smash it.
No, I wouldn't say that. I mean, when I play darts, I'm usually aiming at the treble 20 or the treble 19. Not that I hit it all the time, but you're not used to going switching from 1 to a 2 to it's difficult. So I thought it was a good effort considering.
Okay, well, there we go. If you would like to take part in Lord of the Board, do get in touch. There is a prize for the overall winner. Currently, that's heading my way, but that could all change. Neil, I think we might record you next week and see how you get on.
Yep, no practice from me. I'll go straight into it, and I will beat your score of 8. Don't worry about that.
Once again, as ever, thanks to Colin Church, our musical director, for allowing us to use Church Studios for this week's Lord of the Board.
You're listening to Josh's Dartistry. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook by going to the Josh's Dartistry page. You can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry, or go to the website www.joshisdartistry.com for the latest news and insight to the world of darts. You can also leave us a comment or a question via our voicemail box. Just call 07739 738 329. Leave us a message and we may play it on air. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the JDP, and it's now time for this.
Challenge Josh.
Okay, Josh has a pen and notepad in hand, which can only mean one thing. It is time for this episode's Challenge Josh. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll hand you over to Mr. Neil Connor.
Thank you very much, John. Looking forward to this one. It's going to be short and snappy.
A bit like Josh.
Well, yeah, absolutely. The difficulty will increase. It will be the same format as last time. It would be 15 questions, and the difficulty will increase as the quiz goes on. I think he will get 15 out of 15.
Bold claim.
There are no trick questions. I'm not trying to stitch you up. I think you will absolutely breeze through this.
Neil, before we begin, are there any remaining members of staff in our administrative department?
No.
They've all been fired.
They were all axed after the debacle of episodes 4.
Okay, and you've taken on the reins yourself, have you, personally?
I have.
For this one?
And I've double checked and triple checked every single answer. So there'll be no steward's inquiries needed this time.
Right, Neil, let us know, please. What is the subject matter today?
Okay, so this will be 15 questions. It's a very straightforward format. I will read a dart player's nickname, and Josh will tell me who the player it is.
That's not too bad, Josh, is it?
No, it sounds reasonable, John, but you haven't heard the players you're going to mention yet.
I take it we're talking PDC, BDO, male and female.
Correct.
Okay, lovely. Josh, are you ready?
He was looking a bit smug when I said nicknames.
No, I wasn't, because
there was a nod of the head. So
no, but then there was an initial smugness, but then I thought you'll be asking me the world rank 123rd or something.
I went through 20 pages of nicknames. So
yeah, that worries me a bit.
Yeah, good. Hope it does.
Right, Josh, are you ready?
Yes.
Neil, are you ready?
Yes.
Good. Gentlemen, start your engines. Here we go with question number 1.
Okay, easiest question to start with. The nickname is From Russia with Love. Who is the player?
Anastasia Dobromislova.
Can you spell that, please?
I can if you want.
No. Okay.
Correct. 1 out of 1. Excellent start. Okay, Neil, can we have question number 2, please?
The nickname is Jaws. Who is the player?
Colin Lloyd.
Correct. 2 out of 2.
Told you these were easy and he would breeze through it. Question 3. The nickname is Diamond.
Ian White.
Ian Diamond White, Josh's favourite brand of cider, of course, there.
Indeed.
Okay, that's 3 out of 3. Neil, hit me with question number 4.
This player's nickname is the Singapore Slinger.
Oh, the legend Paul Lim.
Yes, it is World Cup of Darts favourite, Paul Lim. Right, let's move on. Next question, please, Neil.
This player's nickname is the Scotty Too Hottie.
Scott Waits.
There was an initial pause then.
I was going to say Scott Mitchell, but he's Scotty Dog, which confused me a minute.
You had me concerned there, Josh. I thought you were going to drop a point early doors.
I didn't ask for Scott Mitchell's. Thank you.
Neil, was that 5 out of 5?
It is, yeah.
5 out of 5. Okay, so we are a third of the way through. 100% success rate so far. Let's have question number 6.
This player's nickname is the Matchstick. Got him.
Costompy.
Oh, that was so close. He got why the matchstick?
Because he's very thin, I suppose.
Really?
Costompy, yeah.
I believe it's to do with his aesthetics.
Okay, good. Okay, again, I thought you were going to drop one there, Josh, but you pulled it out of the fire. Okay, Neil, let's have question number 7.
The nickname is Black Cobra.
Black Cobra, that's Jeffrey de Zwaan.
The informed Jeffrey de Zwaan, yes.
Well done, Josh. Well done. Okay, Neil, question number 8, please.
The Bald Eagle.
Oh, that is Larry Butler.
Yeah, that's right, Larry Butler. Josh, how's Larry's health after he had a heart attack, I believe, recently?
Yeah, just after the World Cup of Darts, unfortunately. But I believe he's on the mend. I think he might have been playing a tournament last weekend even. So he's on the road to recovery, which is all good.
Excellent news. And yeah, we send our best wishes out to Larry. Neil, let's go with another one. Question number 9.
Okay, nickname number 9 is the Magpie.
One eye is shut.
Well, he nodded.
There's a grimace.
And then winked.
No, I nodded because you've got the better of me there.
The magpie. What do we know about magpies? They like shiny things.
I've heard the nickname, but I can't put a name to the magpie.
Would you like to come back to that one?
Maybe. If that's
That'd be a JDP challenge, Josh, first, wouldn't it? Allowing him to come back to it.
It would.
We're going to come back to that one, are we?
Yes, please.
I think that's very forgiving of you, Neil. But okay, let's abandon that, and we're going to come back to that. That's going to drive him crazy for the next couple of minutes.
That's what I'm hoping.
Let's move on to question number 10, then, please, Neil.
Okay, very very easy one. I think if you can understand the irony. Nickname is Two Dart.
You've got him again. You've got him again.
Two dart.
As opposed to
One dart.
One dart. So who's one dart?
Peter Manley.
You're not meant to be part of this.
Okay, I'll be quiet.
Peter Manley's one dart. Who's two dart?
That's what I'm asking you.
Not a clue. Did Peter Manley's wife play?
I'm not here to give clues. I just want an answer.
I think Peter Manley's wife used to play, but I don't know if she was. Can't imagine it.
His answer's going to be Mrs. Manley.
No, I know his wife's name's Chrissy, but I don't think it is that.
What is your answer, Josh?
Peter Manley. I don't know.
Peter Manley.
Oh no, sorry, Chrissy Manley.
I have inadvertently helped you out.
Well, that would have been my guess, but I had no confidence in it. I really didn't know that.
Two dart. I never knew that. Now I didn't even know she played. If I'm honest.
Yep.
Didn't even know she played. That's a tough question, Neil.
Well, as I said, these are getting harder, but I think they actually get a little bit easier for
That's
a
tough.
couple now. Still doesn't know who the Magpie is, though, does he?
Oh dear. Okay, Neil. What? I don't know what's going on. What number are we?
He's got 9 out of 10 right. We're going to come back to question 9.
Okay, so this is 11.
This is question 11.
Okay, here we go.
The Hypercane.
Zoran Lurchbacker.
Yeah, not much debate there. Well done, Josh. Great answer. Let's move straight on to number 12.
The nickname is Hollywood.
Hulk Hogan.
Chris Dobie.
Yeah, well done. Took him a couple of seconds to work that one out, but well done, Josh. Okay, Neil, let's go to, unlucky for some, number 13.
Famous James Bond film Goldfinger.
Andrew Gilden.
Yeah, definitely getting easier now. Okay, number 14.
The Silencer.
Jeff Smith.
Absolutely rattling through these now. Okay, let's go on to the last one. Let's have number 15, please, Neil.
Weng Weng.
What?
Weng Weng.
I think my phone's ringing. Can you repeat that?
Weng Weng.
Yeah, my phone's ringing. Hang on a minute.
I think I might have got this one from one of his articles as well.
One of those questions where Josh was the author. They're my favourite type. Weng Weng. Can you spell that now?
W-E-N-G.
Weng Weng.
If I'd have written an article about a Weng Weng, I think I'd have remembered. Well, it sounds like a nickname for a Chinese darts player, so I would imagine Chinese darts players. I don't think it's Momo Zhu's nickname. Weng Weng. I don't think so. I'm struggling on this one. Oh dear.
Okay, can we have a guess, please? Weng Weng.
I'm going to guess Momo Zhu, but I could be completely off.
Incredible scenes. That is correct.
Momo Zhu, the first Chinese lady to represent them at the World Cup of Darts, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little stab in the dark there, Josh, but it's paid dividends for you, so well worked out, well done. Okay, so how many has he got right?
He's got 14 right and question 9 outstanding.
Question 9 outstanding.
And we need to put a time limit on this.
Yeah, could you please, for the benefit of Josh and the JDP listener, repeat number 9 for us, please, Neil?
The nickname is the Magpie.
Right, the clock is on. We've got a 60-second clock on.
Generous.
I was going to say, even that is generous, but we've got a 60-second clock on. He's not looking at his phone, is he? No, he's not got his phone on. His hands are on the back of his head. He's exhaling into the microphone. Not great radio, but...
Sorry, John.
It's all right.
It's flummoxed me, this one. Ooh.
Can I? Go on. Wait, just do some. Imagine you're sitting in an exam, right, and you've got to show your work in, right? So think out loud, Josh. What's going through your head? Think out loud before you give your answer.
My thoughts are it's an Irish player.
Why is that?
I don't know. There's a player that's coming to my head, and I'm not sure if it's right, but it's coming to my head.
Nothing to do with Newcastle.
I was just about to say, has it got anything to do with Newcastle United? Because they are known as the Magpies.
Yeah, I knew that, but I don't. Not in my head. Well, Chris Dobie's awfully from the North East. We've already had him. It's awfully not Paul Nicholson. He's a he's represented Australia, but he's a Geordie lad.
How are we doing for time?
I reckon he's probably got about 10 seconds left to make a
I've got an
decision.
answer, but I don't know if it's right or not.
Based on what? What's your answer based on?
I've just plucked one from...
Okay, so it's a bit of a wild stab in the dark, this one.
Yeah.
Right, what's your answer?
Mick McGowan.
That is incorrect, Josh. Neil, can you tell us what the correct answer is?
He was on the right lines. We tried to deviate to the northeast and Newcastle, but it was an Irish player. It was Willie O'Connor.
Willie O'Connor, the Magpie. The Magpie.
I was on the right lines. I said it was an Irish player. I picked the wrong one. Oh, well.
14.
Well, Willie, we apologise that Josh has taken very little interest in your career so far, because if he had done, he would have known that. But
apologies.
We had a question about Willie, I think, in show 1.
Yes, we did have a question about Willie in show 1. I do remember that. It was a question about upcoming Irish darts players, I believe, wasn't it, Neil?
It was indeed. Josh obviously wasn't paying attention.
No. Okay, well that concludes Challenge Josh for this week. 14 out of 15, not 100%. Not 100% completion. So, Josh, you're gonna have to improve for the next episode.
I'll try my best, John.
Okay, Josh is beside himself, so I think we'll leave that there and we'll move on. Look forward to the next episode of Challenge Josh.
Challenge Josh.
Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry. Josh's Dartistry.
Welcome back to the JDP, and it's now time for this.
In the news.
Okay, Neil and Josh, I believe you've been trawling through the websites and finding some news items for this episode. Josh, do you want to kick us off? What have we got this week?
I will indeed. First up, John, is involving the Champions League of Darts, which is the next TV tournament on our screens in September. Obviously, following the World Matchplay, the 8-man field for the tournament was confirmed, and as I mentioned earlier, it'll be held in Brighton this year, so a new venue moved from Cardiff. So it's an 8-man tournament, 2 groups of 4. The top 2 from each group progress to the semi-finals and obviously then the final. Mensur Suljovic is defending champion. He beat Gary Anderson last year. But Group A is made up of Michael van Gerwen, world number 1, Gary Anderson, World Grand Prix champion Darryl Gurney, and Dave Chisnall, who is the 8th seed. So that's Group A. Group B is Peter Wright, world number 2, world champion Rob Cross, defending champion Mensur Suljovic, and Simon Whitlock.
So is that the world's top 8 players?
World's top 8 in the rankings only, yep.
It's quite a relatively new tournament, the Champions League. It's only been going for...
This is the 3rd year only.
Yeah, the 3rd, because Taylor won the first inaugural Champions League, I believe, and as you say there, Mensur won the 2nd year, didn't he?
Yeah, no, that's right. It's obviously a tournament that has eluded Michael van Gerwen so far, and he hasn't had the best of records in TV tournaments this year, so I wouldn't be surprised if he breaks his duck in Brighton.
Am I right in saying that tournament's broadcast on the BBC, Josh?
It's indeed, yeah. Obviously the first tournament to be broadcast on the BBC from the PDC, so that was groundbreaking in itself, and it's been very popular in its first 2 stagings.
Okay, well, we look forward to that tournament. What else have we got, Josh?
That was, by the way, that was from dartsnews.com, if we haven't already mentioned. But
okay.
And we got another one from dartsnews.com, and it's surrounding the BDO this time. Last Sunday there was their annual AGM, and we now have a new chairman of the BDO. His name is Des Jacklin. He won the AGM, taken over from Sue Williams, and he was competing against Roger Sheena, who is a manager of Dave Chisnall and Lisa Ashton, 2 high-profile players. Des won the vote by 34 votes to 28, with 2 of the delegates abstaining from the vote. So our new chairman for the BDO is Des Jacklin, and hopefully it'll be a new era, a fresh era for BDO darts, because it needs a bit of a shake-up.
Yeah, I think from what I heard, he had some fairly frank and open views about the current state of the BDO, and I think people were intrigued by the ideas that he had in terms of improving the BDO, new sponsorship ideas, and a fresh approach was voted on. I think within a day he had his first issue to deal with, because I think there was a tournament, the Vizcaya Open, that was due to be played at the end of August, that was subsequently cancelled. I don't know the reasons for the cancellation, but I know earlier in the year, and on, I think, episode 1 of the JDP, we spoke about the French Open being cancelled as well.
That's right, yeah.
So it's a difficult time for the BDO. Hopefully a fresh approach, new ideas, we'll see it return to former glories.
Definitely.
Okay, we look forward to goings on in the BDO and hopefully some improvements going forward. Josh, anything else for us this week?
Yep, 3rd and final story, and it's a very fresh one and came out today. It's surrounding the new expansion for the PDC World Championship, which obviously takes place at the Alexandra Palace later this year. And it's surrounding obviously the women's qualifiers this year. For the first time ever, there'll be 2 women competing in the PDC. Well, not for the first time ever. We've had Gail King and Anastasia Dobromyslova competing before. But there'll be 2 spots for the females up for grabs this year. There'll be 2 separate qualifiers. One rest of the world qualifier in Dusseldorf, which takes place on November the 17th. So obviously that's for players outside of the UK and Ireland. And then the UK qualifier will be held in Milton Keynes on November the 25th. So a fantastic opportunity for the aspiring female players to have a shot in the PDC World Championship.
Can we expect some big names in the ladies qualifiers, Josh?
I hope so. I mean, Lisa Ashton competed on the Challenge Tour last year, had some decent success. We've seen Dita Hedman play in the PDC before. Anastasia, as I've mentioned. I believe Lorraine Winstanley's hoping to give it a go as well, who's had a lot of success in the BDO circuit over the last 12 months. So it should be a very competitive field, I think.
Good, exciting times for the ladies' game then. Looking forward to the World Championships in December. Okay, thank you very much. And that was In the News.
News.
Right then, gents, that almost brings us to a close for episode 5. Before we sign off, we're just going to have a look at some questions that have been coming in through the Facebook page and on Twitter. Neil, I believe you've got the first question for us.
Yeah, so this one came in from Jeremy on Twitter. and it's about darts players and their large presence nowadays on social media. Do you see this as a good thing or a bad thing, as it gives them the opportunity to answer back to their critics?
Interesting question. Josh, what do you reckon?
Yeah, very good question, that one. I think it depends how you use social media. I think it's largely a positive. I mean, we see sometimes, like footballers, for example, they're kind of all accused of being distant and not really interacting with their fans. Whereas with obviously social media and darts, the fans feel part of it. They're able to interact. I mean, a lot of the players, in fairness, a lot of the higher profile players are their Twitter and Facebook is controlled by their management.
I was going to ask that. How direct is the tweets?
I think quite often you can tell, because when something does get asked of a certain Twitter account, I'm not going to name names, but sometimes the answers that come back are quite placid and quite, do you know what I mean, watered down. Whereas those guys who are, you can tell, who are solely in charge of their accounts, and the content that goes out can sometimes be a little bit more to the point, to the knuckle, maybe engage in sort of some, whether it's negative comments or it's quite easy to tell which ones are which.
Yeah, and sometimes if it's answered in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you come out after a defeat, it can be quite raw or whatever. But I think you can tell, the higher the players are in the rankings, the more they're open to the exposure of the media, and they've got to be seen as more professional. So largely, the accounts of higher ranked players, like the Premier League players, are largely controlled by their management.
I don't see it as a bad thing. I think you can look at it outside of darts as well. The closer people can get to, whether it's their idols being film stars, music, singers, sportsmen, it's good that you can have that rapport with somebody, ask a question or interact with someone on social media and get a response from your favourite sportsman. Unfortunately, also, as we mentioned, that can work in reverse. Detractors can very, very quickly get in contact, and if they've got a negative comment to make, they can make it, and that person's going to see that tweet and they'll make a decision whether they're going to answer back or not.
That's the only downside I can see. I think positives, it does give a connection between the player and the fans. Often these Twitter, Facebook accounts are informative as well. So you're not only hearing about what the players are doing at tournaments in terms of their performance, but you're finding out a little bit more about what other activities they're getting involved in as well, what exhibitions they're playing in. It just is more informative and gives that connection between the players and the fans.
Talking to Twitter, don't forget you can follow us on Twitter at Josh's Dartistry. My personal Twitter account is at Deansy, that's Deanzey. Neil, I gave your Twitter handle out earlier, but I think I got it wrong. Do you want to correct me? What is your personal Twitter handle?
At 10_Chief1. Easy to remember.
Yeah, at 10_Chief1. Excellent stuff. Okay, next question. We've had a question come in from Dave_777. He asks, I'm really interested in getting into the game of darts. How do I go about joining a local pub team? Josh, have you got any advice for any up-and-coming darts players who are looking to get involved at the lower end of the game?
I mean, I personally, I've never played at a local league level or a pub team, but
not good enough.
I think I can hold my own, but
we'll see when you step up for Lord of the Board in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, don't mention that. But I think largely, I mean, all these darts teams, there's quite a few local to me. They're very accommodating. I'm sure just go along, pick up a set of arrows. That's the great thing with darts. You don't need all this equipment. With some sports, you see, costs an arm and a leg. With darts, you need 3 darts in your hand, a dartboard. So just go along, enjoy it, and it's a great way to get into the game.
Yeah, there's lots of certainly in the area that we live in. I know there's lots of leagues and there's lots of pubs that have got teams. You pop into a pub on a Thursday night near a local that we used to frequent quite often. I know they had a darts team, didn't they, on a Thursday night, and we used to watch them chuck the arrows.
We did, and we were just hanging around for the food that used to
the leftover sausage rolls
that used to be brought out. But yeah, it was quite a lively atmosphere for both ladies and men's games. As you say, there's lots of local leagues, and again, social media is really good for advertising which particular public houses have teams and which leagues they're in. And quite often you'll see adverts asking for players. So get yourself involved. I'm sure it'll be an enjoyable thing for you to do and enjoy the food that comes with it on those nights.
Okay, excellent advice. Josh, I believe you've got the final question this evening.
Yep, it's come in to me from Steve via Facebook, and he's asked, do the performances from some of the qualifiers in these World Series events reflect the growing standard of darts across the globe?
Well, Josh, I think you're the most qualified out of all of us to answer that. What do you think yourself?
No, I agree with Steve. I think it's a good question. I think he's right. I mean, obviously we mentioned Damon Heater there, beat Carl Anderson earlier today, knocked him out of the World Series. We saw Mark McGrath beat Michael Smith. So some of these qualifiers are now claiming the scalps of these higher ranked players. And you've also got to remember, they're playing in the Australian leagues or New Zealand, in the New Zealand circuits. They're not having the opportunity to play on the TV stage. It's one thing playing on the Pro Tour behind closed doors, but when you step up on that TV stage, it's a completely different experience. So it is difficult. It takes time to adjust. But we also saw at the World Cup of Darts, the amount of more obscure nations who are playing really good darts and travelling the higher nations. So I think darts is in a very healthy place across the globe.
Yeah, I think you say about stepping up onto the stage and onto TV. I think that can go either way, really. Whilst it can cause some players to suffocate, it can also mean that players raise their game and they rise to the occasion. So I think globally the game is growing, and the more it's growing, the more players you're getting, the more competitive the game is becoming. I think even just by looking at the analytics of our podcast, the JDP, it's interesting to see the wide range of listeners that we have from various countries. So it's a sport that's growing in popularity, both from a viewing perspective and from a playing perspective. And I think the standard will continue to increase, and the competition will get harder and harder as time goes on.
Neil, the general rule across sport for me that I've always enjoyed, and that's whether it's darts related or not, everyone loves a giant killing. And when you see the small qualifiers coming up against the more established players, I think it can really make for an excellent contest, and to see some of these players knocking out the big guns, it can only be good for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. No one wants to see unless they're your favourite. No one wants to see the same people win week in, week out. So when Van Gerwen got knocked out early in the match play, everyone's interest kind of up because everyone's just expecting him to steamroller everybody else and win it. So yeah, everybody loves a giant killing, and I think it's good for the sport.
Excellent stuff. Okay, well, gents, that is the end of episode 5. Can we not leave it so long next time? Because I've quite enjoyed your company this evening.
Yeah, no, we'll try. Obviously, we've got the Champions League coming up in a few weeks' time, and obviously the World Grand Prix is the next major, so we'll have to do something ahead of that, no doubt.
Excellent stuff. Well, on that basis then, Josh, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, John.
Neil, thank you.
Thanks, John.
And of course, once again, thanks very much to Wayne Mardle for coming on this evening and giving us that fantastic interview. As I said earlier, don't forget you can follow us at Josh's Dartistry on Twitter, follow the Josh's Dartistry Facebook page, or log on to www.joshsdartistry.com and check out Josh's website. Until then, we say good night and thank you.
Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry, Josh's Dartistry.